All right, greetings, class, and welcome to week number 3. That is right, week number 3 of your 7314 class, which is your reference class. As always, I'm your professor, Dr. J.S.K. Austin, and what we are going to do today is a quick state of the course update, and then after the state of the course update, what we will do is, if you remember, during the sync session, I told you that there would be a check-in video that would discuss two common mistakes that people make in citing or using APA. I am going to show you those two common mistakes that people make and show you how to avoid making those common mistakes. And I'm going to let you all know or remind you all I'm going to remind you all that there will be 2 assignments that I will be checking for proper APA on, and those 2 assignments are going to be the virtual reference practice assignment, which is the assignment that you're doing with your partners right now, and then also the Wikipedia edit assignment. Those will be the 2 assignments that I will be checking for proper APA on. I will not check for proper APA on your discussion board posts. In other words, if your APA isn't formatted correctly on your discussion board posts, I actually do not check off on that because I consider the discussion board prompts to be kind of informal. Don't get me wrong. I want you to actually use proper English and, say things at least semi-professionally. But yeah, the discussion board prompts are not something that are formal, and because of that, I'm not going to hold you accountable for proper APA citation on those. And then when it comes to your semester-long projects, I don't check for proper APA on those either, to be honest with you, because they take a long time to grade anyway. So if I were to check for proper APA on the semester-long projects, given how long they take to grade, that would be it would take me longer to grade them, to the point where I probably would not be able to turn the grades in by deadline. So I say all of that to say that, yes, there are 2 assignments that I'll be checking for proper APA on. And if you have not mastered APA, if you do not know for sure that you are an APA master, then please watch, because I guarantee at least one of you will make at least one of these 2 mistakes. And they're mistakes that I warned you ahead of time not to make, and then I'm going to count off. And then those are points that you could have had, but they're going to be points that you won't have. And then usually what happens is on the virtual reference practice paper, people make those mistakes, and then I count off, and then they correct them for the Wikipedia edit assignment. But my goal, and hopefully this can happen, is I'm hoping that 100% of you will not make these mistakes, and that I don't have to count off for these things, okay? All right, let's get into that state of the course update. Let's make me small here. So the first thing that I wanted to tell you all is that your database discussions or your database unassignments, they are, sorry, I keep hearing my garage door open and close. I wonder if I live with my wife and my mother-in-law. I'm wondering if one of the 2 of them is just doing a whole bunch of stuff. But anyway, sorry to get off track there. First of all, unless I granted you an extension, again, these database discussion unassignments were due on February the 2nd. So they were due yesterday, unless I granted you an extension. And for those of you who have been granted an extension, don't worry about it. Just turn it in by the time I told you you needed to turn it in by. But for the rest of you all, you should have turned it in by now. And if you turned it in by now, what I want you all to, you don't have to do it right away. In other words, you don't have to do it today. But one thing that I do want you all to do is, the reason why these are discussion board prompts, or the reason why they're basically discussion boards, is because I want you all to have the opportunity. This is basically peer-to-peer learning. So the reason I had you all do it this way is so that you could see your classmates' work. And again, this is going to be peer-to-peer learning. So one way to kind of start learning about these various databases now is to, when you get a chance, and I recommend that, again, you don't have to do it today, just make time to do it at some point this semester. But what I want you all to do is go back and look at the work. You won't be graded for this. This is optional. But what I want you all to do is go back and look at the work that your classmates did, because this will help you learn more about these databases, and especially example questions that you see for the databases. That way you would know which database to use once you actually got a question on the reference desk and that sort of thing. So that's why I do it this way. So yes, go ahead and be checking into those into the work that you all did with the database discussion on assignments, please go ahead and get to checking that, and that way you can just see the work that your classmates have done, and you can use that as peer-to-peer learning and learn a few things about these various databases here. All right, let's get into the next thing that we need to talk about. And the next thing that I wanted to talk about very quickly is just going to be to remind you all, and it looks like all of you are doing a good job with this, so I don't have to spend a lot of time with this, but I do want to remind you all that discussion board prompt number 2 actually continues into week 3. So as you can see here, weeks 2 and 3 introduce you to theories of information seeking, and the discussion board prompt 2 is not due until February 9th. So that's this coming Sunday. Hold on for a second. Sorry, they're not due until February 9th. So that's this coming Sunday. So please note that you should have at least one post up by now, because you were supposed to have your first post up on February the 2nd. But I'm actually not going to put grades in until after the end of week 3, so after February 9th. So the reason I say that is to say, if you have not done your February the 2nd post yet, don't worry, it's not too late. Just make sure you have 2 posts up by the end of this week. So by February 9th, or really by February 10th, at 12:01 a.m. That's when you should have both of your posts up. But again, I also will not be just hanging around to make sure you have it up by midnight on Sunday night. I am going to, as long as you have it up by Monday morning when I actually check grades, or when I actually am about to put grades in, then you'll be fine, okay? Now, outside of that, other things that we have coming up on the horizon, because again, now we've already talked about the unassignment, and we've talked about this week's discussion board prompt, which is a continuation of last week. Give me one moment. Let me pause this here. All right, so the other things to just be kind of aware of that are kind of looming on the horizon here is that, again, your virtual reference practice paper is going to be due on February the 13th. So you've got about 2 weeks to get that done, and that should be plenty of time. And then also on February the 19th, we will have a sync session. And that sync session, we will be welcoming Marianne Curtis, and she will talk a little bit about K-12 reference work, and also dealing with parents and teachers and that sort of thing. All right, and that's pretty much it for the state of the course update. Let's talk about those 2 common APA mistakes. And again, please watch, please avoid making these mistakes. Please know that I will be checking for these things on your virtual reference and Wikipedia edit papers. And then also, I will say that I share this information with pretty much every class, and I know that some of you, you're having your first class with me this semester. This class is your first class with me. So you may want to watch. But for those of you who have had me before, and I know several of you had me in Intellectual Freedom, or you may have had me in Cultural Heritage last spring. I think at least one of you did. If you've had me before, then you've heard this message before. So if you've heard this message before, then you can go ahead and, unless you want a refresher, you can go ahead and turn the video off now. This is not new information, so if you've had me before, you've heard this before. But for those of you who are having me for the first time, yes, please stay tuned. Okay, so first of all, I don't make my students buy the APA style manual. With my classes, you can get through with using the Purdue OWL. Now, if you do not know what the Purdue OWL is, and most of my younger students do know what the Purdue OWL is, it got them through undergrad school. But if you do not know what the Purdue OWL is, especially if you're a returning student who has been away for a while, it is a free citation style citation format kind of guide. And you can get to it just by Googling APA Purdue OWL. You can actually just, you can Google Purdue OWL, but it'll take you to like the general, the front page with all of the different styles in it. So if you want to get specifically to APA, which is what we're going to be using in this class, then you can Google Purdue OWL APA. But they do have MLA in Chicago and all those other guys as well. All right, so let me tell you these 2 common mistakes. And again, I know that at least one of you, even though I'm warning you all right now, I know that at least one of you is going to make this mistake on the virtual reference practice paper, and you're going to lose points. And then I'm going to recommend that you watch this video when I deduct those points, and then hopefully you will avoid making the same mistake in the future. All right, so let's go ahead and make me small here again. The 2 common mistakes are, first of all, and let me make sure that it's clear that these things that I'm about to talk about, they apply to the reference list. They do not necessarily apply to your in-text citations. I am talking about the references list when I talk about what I'm talking about right now. So let's scroll and look at this basic thing here. All right, so I actually took you to the wrong place just then. Here's actually where we want to go to review this first mistake. It's going to be reference lists, author, authors. This is the tab that you're going to want. And so the first mistake, the first very common mistake that people make that I want you all to avoid making is, even if you know the author's given names, so given names meaning the first name and the middle name, even if you know their given names, you do not write their given names in the references list in APA, okay? So I'll show you what I mean by that. It says right here, when you have a single author, last name first, followed by the author's initials, so you can have Ahmad, comma, S period. Even if we knew Ahmad's first name, like let's say his first name was, or I'm assuming male, which I shouldn't do, sorry about that. Let's assume that this person's first name was Sam, and Sam can be kind of gender neutral. Sam. If this was Sam Ahmad, you would still just put the S, even if you knew. I think some people assume that when they see APA reference lists and they see that the first name and the middle name aren't written out, they think it's because people didn't have access to it. No, they did have the access to it. It's just that in APA, you don't format it that way. You don't write out in the reference list. You don't write out the given names, the first name and the middle name. So you see that here. You just see Ahmed, comma, S period. And when you see two authors, same deal. Soto, comma, C period, J period. And John, comma, O period, P period. Okay. So again, I say that to say that, I just say that to say that, yes, when you are putting your references list together, if I see given names, I am going to count off. Now, I've had students complain in my teaching evaluations. I have had students kind of complain about this and say that I was nitpicky when it came to grading because I want them to do things right. You all are in grad school and you are adults. I want you to get used to doing things right. And I do realize I come from a different generation from a lot of you. And I do think these get into generational things. I am an elder millennial or a geriatric millennial. I was, or exennial as we call them, born in 1983. So, a different generation from a lot of the Gen Zers, and most of my students tend to be Gen Zers. And I don't want to get into generational wars, but I will say that as millennials, when we were going to school, we were required to actually do things right. There was an expectation that we were going to school to learn how to do things right. And so it wasn't nitpicky when it came to our teachers grading us and making us do things right. Even at the college level, it wasn't considered nitpicky when our professors would count off when we did things wrong. And so I see that as kind of like a generational difference. And I am just going to be honest and say that I do things old school. I do things the way I was taught. And that means that, yes, my philosophy in teaching is I'm supposed to be teaching you all how to do things right and holding you all accountable to doing things right. I'm not supposed to be just allowing any half-assed work to fly. Okay. So I say that to say that, yes, sorry if you think I'm being nitpicky, but there is going to be, some of you are going to go to places where librarians are expected to know citation styles or to at least understand the nuances of them and cite things properly. So if you're going to be headed to one of those libraries, to one of those places, then I feel I'm only doing my job if I tell you to do things right and how to do things correctly. Okay. So again, looking at that again, I will count off if in your references list you write out a first or middle name of an author. You are not supposed to do that. You see it right here. No matter how far you scroll down on this page, you will not see a first or a middle name written out when it comes to authors or when it comes to editors, as you can see there. Okay, so that's the first common mistake. Make sure you're doing last name, comma, and then first name, period, middle name, period. So my name is Jason Kelly Alston. If you were citing me, you would put Alston, comma, J, period, K, period. All right, let's look at that second common mistake. All right, so the next thing that we need to look at comes here, and that is going to be related to capitalization in article titles and also book titles. Actually, let's start with the books. So this is going to be very, very weird, and this mistake is actually made more often than the author naming mistake, but both are made in my classes. So when it comes to writing out the titles of things, here is your basic format, and I know this is weird, but this is what it is, and you got to learn how to do it the right way. All right, so when it comes to writing your reference list, and again, book titles and article titles have to follow this rule. And the rule is that you only capitalize the first word of the title, the first word of the subtitle, and then any proper nouns. Again, that is the first word of the title, the first word of the subtitle, and any proper nouns for book titles. So we'll scroll down and kind of look at this so that you can see what I'm talking about. This is the title of a book, Alexander the Great, A Life and Legend. Now, when you are actually doing this normally, quote unquote normally, in normal English, you would capitalize all of the major words in the titles. You would capitalize great, you would capitalize life, you would capitalize legend. You wouldn't capitalize the or in, but life and legend would be capitalized. As you can see here, however, life and legend are lowercase. And you might be thinking, well, what about great? Great is capitalized. Well, Alexander the Great is actually the proper noun. So that's how that works. So Alexander the Great, this whole thing is the proper noun. However, even in a proper noun, your article, so your the, your or whatever the case may be, those are not going to be capitalized, okay? So even in your proper noun, if you have something like Alexander the Great or Bill the Gnome or something like that, yes, in Bill the Gnome, you would capitalize Bill, you would capitalize Gnome, but you wouldn't capitalize the. But here, because great is part of your proper noun, you do capitalize great in this case. So Alexander the Great, capitalized. A Life and Legend, you see that only is capitalized because it's the beginning of the subtitle. So, and as you can see here, there you go again, title of the work, capital letter also for subtitle. So this is the title of a work here, A New Companion for Mallory. As you can see, new is lowercase, companion is lowercase, Mallory is capitalized because it's a proper noun. Scrolling down even further, I'm going to skip that one because I don't know what's going on there. But, well, symposium is only one word, so I'm skipping that too. Here we go. Okay, again. So this is the title of your book, Writing Your Journal Article in 12 Weeks, A Guide to Academic Publishing. As you can see, writing is the only word that is capitalized here. Your journal article, 12 weeks, all lowercase. Is the only word capitalized here. Guide, academic, publishing, success, all lowercase. Okay. The next thing that I want to show you all is the article titles, because here's where it gets really funky and confusing. You only do that type of casing with the article title, but not with the periodical title. So again, let me explain when we talk about this. First of all, let me make sure you all know a periodical is a publication that comes out periodically. So something like a magazine, a journal, or a newspaper, things that have volume and issue numbers and that sort of thing, and they come out on a periodic basis. And usually they come out on kind of like a routine basis, so like they will be quarterly or daily or something like that. But they don't just have like a random pacing. Usually, like you won't see like you won't see like a winter issue with a periodical followed by a May issue followed by a June issue. It's going to be either quarterly or monthly or daily or something like that. All right, so with your periodicals, again, your periodical title is going to follow your normal capitalization rules of English, but your article title is going to follow that weird thing that was going on with the books. So again, let's scroll down to kind of look at this. Your periodical title is going to be italicized, and I'll be checking on things like that as well, but students typically do a good job of getting that thing kind of right with what should and should not be italicized. But yeah, so this is a periodical right here. This is from a print journal, the New Criterion. As you can see, they did capitalize new and criterion. Those are things that are supposed to be capitalized there, but as you can see also over here, this is your article title here, the eclipse of listening. And as you can see, the is the only thing that is capitalized. Eclipse and listening are lowercase. We'll scroll down, electronic journal, same deal. So here is a journal title, Purdue Journal of Service Learning and International Engagement. As you can see, all of these words, journal, service, learning, international engagement, all capitalized because this is the periodical title. But when you're looking at the article title, experience and design are lowercase. Yes, negotiating is capitalized because it's the first word of the subtitle, but community-oriented digital research with service and learning are all lowercase. Same with magazines. Time, I hate that they use Time as an example because it's a one-word title, but Time is going to be capitalized, and then our article title here is Better Late Than Never, and Late Than and Never are all lowercase. And then also with your newspapers, as you can see here, this is the name of the newspaper, the Country Daily, but as you can see, the title of the article, calls made to strengthen state energy policies. The only word that is capitalized is calls. Okay, so that is pretty much how that works. Now I will say I am actually even going to give you all grace, and I'm only going to be checking for this for correctness with the article and the book titles. But when it comes to your reference list and like websites and that sort of thing, the websites get so confusing that even though I want you all to learn this and I want you all to do it right, I do give a little bit of leeway when it comes to if you get it wrong with your websites, I may give you some grace and not count off there, but I still want you to look at the website page as well and try your best to get that right as well. Okay, but again, with websites, I give a little more grace because things get really confusing when it comes to your websites, okay, and your web pages. But and I will have also a capitalization guide excerpt from the APA style manual, APA 7, the style manual. I will put like a 4-page excerpt in there with this announcement so that you'll have that as well. And then if you can read that, that'll help you understand even further. And it's just good to have that information as well. So with that said, okay, I hope you sped this up. I'll put a reminder in the announcement to speed it up. So hopefully that's what you did. I am Dr. Jace, and not knowing your citation styles once you actually get into professional practice can be seen as a bit of a disgrace. So please learn them, or at least learn some of the nuances about them so that you can use a style manual and jump in and be successful. All right, I will see you all next week.